Dear students, hello and welcome. I welcome you to the online course that is Psychology of Individual Differences, and today we will be talking about the role of a teacher in developing creative thinking. The objectives of the lecture include to know about the nature of creativity, to know the concept of creative teaching, to understand the need of prioritizing creativity in schools, to understand the role of teacher in the process of creative teaching, and to know how to develop students' creativity in the classrooms. Students, creativity refers to the process of producing clever, original and useful ideas. Creativity has been described as contributing or producing original ideas, different points and new ways of looking at problems. Joy Paul Guilford, the psychometrician and creative psychologist, defined creativity as the acquisition that includes supporting, experiencing and producing different and unusual ideas. E.P. Torrance defines creativity as a process of becoming sensitive to problems, gaps in knowledge, missing elements, identifying the difficulty, searching for solutions, making guesses, formulating hypotheses, testing and retesting the hypothesis, and finally communicating the results. We can conclude by saying that creativity refers to the ability of an individual to create, discover or produce a new or novel idea or object. It may also include the reshaping or rearranging the already existing idea or object. Terming it differently, creativity is the generation of a new product that is both novel and appropriate in a particular scenario. The product may refer to an idea, an artwork or an invention, etc. Now, what is creative teaching? Creative teaching refers to a process of designing and strategizing instruction in such a way so as to facilitate thinking skills, especially creative thinking skills among students. Here, attention is being given to the creative problem solving skills of students. In other words, creative teaching facilitates the creative thinking skills among students through vibrant teaching modes. In this process of teaching, the role of the student assumes great significance. He is an active participant in the teaching learning process. He is involved in active learning and is personally responsible for his own learning. The major role of the teacher is to stimulate, to guide, to provide a conducive climate and the necessary equipments. The student is not a passive learner, rather he acts as an active learner who himself discovers what he learns. Hence, in the process of creative teaching, teachers become more creative in aiding their learners. They encourage the pupils to ask more questions, to be more inquisitive, imaginative and expressive. The role of the creative teacher is to stimulate, to guide and to provide a conducive environment for active learning. Creative teaching helps students develop skills that can be employed for using the information in new and novel situations. Now, let us understand the need of prioritizing creativity in schools. Dear students, experts in psychology and education assert that creativity skills are psychological skills needed for success in schools. Creativity is valued as the most crucial skill needed in this fast changing modern world. Students need to be ready to learn independently and constantly adapt to the demands of the contemporary times. They need to innovate and create and prove as problem solvers in the present times. Creativity, as a matter of fact, enhances learning by increasing motivation, deepening understanding, and promoting joy. There is no denying the fact that intrinsic motivation is essential to the creative process and relies on students pursuing meaningful goals. Researchers are evident to the fact that higher scores correlated with higher creativity. In addition to enhancing academic achievement, creativity can make learning more fun, leading to joy and positive emotional engagement in students. By nurturing creativity among students, teachers can help them to mature mentally, emotionally, and socially. By allowing creative freedom to children, they can help them to develop social skills, decision making skills, confidence, and independence. Now, the role of a teacher in the process of creative teaching. The teacher, as the key person of the educational process, performs diverse roles in the process of student education. Teacher acts as a planner, facilitator, and the organizer of the whole educational process. Besides being the source of information, his magnificent role is to provide continuous support for students in their growth and development. The teacher sets the stage for learning, organizes the students' environment, and motivates them to learn, and transfers the contents of subjects to students in an appropriate and creative manner. The important and vital job of the teacher is to encourage creativity in teaching, that is, present the subject in an interesting way in order to develop students' attitudes, socialization, and emotional intelligence. Undoubtedly, for quality education, students largely depend on well trained teachers. Besides having content knowledge, these teachers need to be well equipped in psychologically sound teaching methodology. Use of good methods and procedures in classrooms are vital for learning outcomes and development of right attitudes and behaviors. Effective teachers are recognized and known for their characteristics such as assisting, encouraging interest in the work, good humor, friendly attitude, and compassion for their needs. They build a positive environment for the transfer and acquisition of new knowledge. The creative teachers develop creativity in their students and remain satisfied with their job. The creative teacher encourages and directs communication, teaches, acts, and learns together with his or her students. The creative teacher respects and values the unusual questions, ideas, and solutions of students and gives due credit to students' self initiated learning. He is the person who provides opportunities for children to learn, think, discover without threat of immediate evaluation. In fact, the primary task of the teacher is to receive students' ideas and accept them and encourage students to find different solutions. He readily accepts the newer techniques and procedures in teaching methodology that encourage creativity in the classroom, such as guided meditation, sociodrama, acting mind maps, etc. Such novel techniques by creative teachers will certainly imbibe greater creativity among students. Creative teacher is a person who owns the primary responsibility of guiding student actions and opinions, accepts them realistically and uses their full potential. Now, developing students' creativity in the classroom. Needless to say that one of the major aims and responsibilities of education is the encouragement and promotion of creativity among young learners. In fact, creativity requires a safe environment in which students are given the opportunities to play, exercise autonomy, and take risks. It is the responsibility of creative teachers who need to establish this kind of supportive and permissive classroom. These inquisitive teachers can help to kindle the spark of creativity among children by taking some constructive steps in this regard. Students, we present here some valuable suggestions from psychologists and educators helping the creative teacher to develop and nurture students' creativity. First, it is protecting and supporting students' intrinsic motivation. As we know that intrinsic motivation fuels creativity. Research is witness to the fact that relying solely on external rewards and incentives in the classroom can weaken intrinsic motivation to complete a task. When a student is intrinsically motivated, he or she does not need incentives or punishments for doing a task because the task or activity is itself rewarding. Teachers need to focus on self-improvement of children and try to limit competitions and comparison with others. Teachers have to provide ample opportunities for students to pursue their passion. Children should be helped to imbibe the qualities of industriousness, persistence, self-reliance, as these qualities assist in creative expressions. Creating an encouraging climate. Students, in order to develop creativity among students, the teacher should work for providing ample opportunities for exploration in an accepting atmosphere, where the child can feel free to be himself. It is the primary responsibility of a creative teacher to make the child feel that he is well accepted and appreciated. The child must enjoy the freedom of asking questions, discussing and deliberating on his or her own notions and ideas. His imaginative ideas and self-initiated learning must be valued and given genuine recognition. They should be encouraged enough if they wish to perform their tasks in unique, different and unconventional manner. As a matter of fact, there is a dire need for properly planned, deliberate and conscious efforts on the part of a creative teacher. The children need to be provided with the environment and facilities conducive to the nurturing and stimulation of creative faculties and qualities like originality, flexibility, divergent thinking, self-confidence, persistence and sensitiveness, etc. Students, the next thing that we need to do is to encourage creativity in many medias. Creative teachers must encourage pupils to express their thoughts and feelings spontaneously in as many media as possible. One thing is worth noting that creativity is not merely confined to writing poems, short stories, novels or biographies. In fact, there are many other media like art, craft, painting, music, or dramatics, in which children should be encouraged to express themselves in a new and novel ways. Creativity, as a matter of fact, can be developed by producing library facilities, bulletin boards, school magazines, literary and debate competitions, interesting exhibitions, socially useful productive work, painting and drawing, sculpture, folk arts, cultural events, science fairs, school campus, educational tours, scouting, group work supports, etc. Now, encouraging and reinforcing creative achievement of students. Students, it is the prime job of the teacher to encourage people's confidence and respect for their own ideas. The teacher should reinforce and reward their creative thinking through treating questions with respect, showing respect for imaginative ideas, and encouraging and valuing self-initiated learning. According to the American psychologist E.P. Torrance, there are 5 ways by which a creative teacher can encourage and reinforce creative achievement. First, by asking unusual questions, presenting unusual ideas, showing that their ideas are valuable, then giving credit for self-initiated learning, providing opportunity to students to learn, think and discover. Now, we need to assist students to become active participants. Students, it is the primary responsibility of a creative teacher to provide rich opportunities to students for manipulating materials, tools, ideas and concepts. The creative manipulation of objects definitely facilitates creativeness among students. The students are regarded as active learners, not passive recipients of knowledge. They are being given the scholarship or the authorship of their own learning. Since knowledge reception is now not regarded as enough, it is the knowledge creation that is being emphasized, which is only possible when children actively participate in creative learning. Children should be asked to suggest ideas as rapidly as possible and think out as many ideas as they can for the solution of a problem. Adequate freedom should be given to children in responding to situation so that a student senses a climate of safety and learns that he can be what he is capable of being. Next, what a creative teacher needs to do is to stimulate creative thought processes among students. The creative teacher has the responsibility of encouraging students to imagine and to think in terms of providing tentative solutions to problems. They are stimulated to attempt to seek for new connections among existing objects, materials or thoughts. They use previous or existing information in new directions and situations. They are encouraged enough to present information into new and unexpected patterns. The creative teacher also encourages students to speculate and take intellectual risks. Children should be avoided for their original work so as to reinforce their creative thought, fostering intellectual fluency and flexibility among the students. The creative teacher encourages and stimulates students to go for a large number of ideas while attacking or solving a problem. They are encouraged to learn how to go for different and varied directions till they arrive at a novel solution to a problem. The students learn to move from one approach to another in dealing with the materials at hand. The creative teacher asks students to seek for new functions of common objects and to go for redefining problems. It is his job to encourage students to look for new meanings in familiar materials and to use old information in new, varied contexts and situations. To set up permissive learning environments. Students, research evidences are there that it is the non-authoritarian learning environment that facilitates creative learning among students. In fact, it is the conditions of freedom which lead to creativeness. So, the creative teacher has to set up a permissive, non-authoritative learning environment where children can enjoy freedom to respond. The freedom which is requisite to creativity is what we call as psychological freedom. This psychological freedom permits students to feel free to express themselves. Freedom to express, in fact, helps in promoting creative learning. On the other hand, the authoritarian act of the teacher discourages the decision making and kills the real initiative of the students. Authoritarian act and attitude of a teacher is known to be detrimental to the growth of creativity among children. So, the teacher has to provide a dynamic learning environment so as to encourage creativity among students. Experiment with new ways of teaching in the classroom. Dear students, it is essential that a creative teacher makes use of creative instructional strategies, models, and methods as much as possible in a variety of domains. As a matter of fact, creative teaching is a technique that takes the help of tools for creative stimulation. The teacher can make use of games, visual exercises, and many other techniques that can attract the attention of the young minds. It is very much useful because it can identify each student as a creative individual and can encourage them to make more and more creative contributions. Using audio and visual materials in the form of models, short films, videos, pictures, infographics, and many other brain mapping tools, etc., help the students tap into their imaginative part of the brain and let that part thrive and grow. Role play as a very effective technique teaches the students to develop interpersonal skills and be more confident and steadfast in their problem solving. It is more beneficial when the students learn history, literature, or current affairs. The students, while using this approach, can put themselves in the shoes of the characters and thus helps them learn and retain that knowledge. Taking students outside the classroom and visiting the centers of art, scientific and industrial creative work too may stimulate students for creative work. Taking students along and giving them opportunities to interact with creative artists, scientists, and creative persons from different fields can be beneficial to kindle the spark of creativity in them. Then, brainstorming as a technique. Brainstorming refers to a group creativity technique by which efforts are made to find a solution for a specific problem by gathering a list of ideas spontaneously contributed by its members. It is a technique which emphasizes the development of divergent thinking among students. In other words, It is a technique used for idea generation and to spark creativity. It consists of generating ideas in response to some problem in a group. Here, students are encouraged to come up with whatever ideas occur to them. These diverse ideas are noted down or recorded without criticism. No criticism is allowed during the brainstorming session. These ideas are evaluated after the brainstorming session. This technique is of a great help to the teacher in developing problem solving attitude among pupils and also in stimulating their imaginative and creative powers. The teacher needs to create a non-judgmental supportive atmosphere in which idea generation can flourish. Students, then there is being a creative person oneself. Students, the teacher can only inspire his students to be creative when his own behavior and style and mode of teaching reflects his or her immense love for creative process. The teacher who himself follows the unbeaten experiences, the excitement of creating or doing something novel and new, and shows originality really succeeds in stimulating creativity among the children. The teacher provides his students a creative model to follow if he or she is still wondering and learning and still trying his or her best to know the unknown in his or her subject field. Those teachers are being followed who model creative ways of thinking, playfully engage with content and express their ideas in unusual and unique ways. Students follow teachers who have passions related to drawing, mathematics, painting, biology, music, politics, or theatre. These passions really promote for creative thought. Hence, teachers have to develop and nurture their own creativity in order to infuse creativity among students. Students, in order to sum up, we may say that creativity refers to creating something new, original, unique, and useful. The teacher is having a very significant role in providing conducive climate for creative growth in the classroom. The teacher has to plan learning situations in the manner which will give each student an opportunity to grow up to the maximum. The creative teacher is having the responsibility to recognize, understand, identify, and nurture human excellence hidden in the pupils. Physical facilities in terms of the space and materials should be provided to the student so as to enable them to explore, experiment, and create. Dear students, it was all for today. I hope that you might have enjoyed the session. Thanks.
Slaughter.